Misery, grief, and anger have taken over the West Bank in Palestine. Many innocent people were killed this week as Israel started its unprecedented attack on Jenin. After 3 days of violence, this settlement in the West Bank looks like a massacre site. How did this start? What comes next? What will happen to all these people? WION tries to answer all these questions in the coming report.
Resilience and defiance. The Palestinian spirit emboldens as thousands line up on the streets to bury their dead a day after Israel withdrew its forces from the West Bank settlement. This week saw the worst attack on the Palestinian colony in recent years. Over 1,000 Israeli soldiers entered Jenin by foot and on tanks. They fired guns, threw bombs, targeted missiles from the air. Scenes similar to a massacre emerged in West Bank. After 2 days of the deadly Israeli assault, Palestinians are returning home, inspecting the damage done. The homes are flattened, the camp's narrow roads and alleyways destroyed, in what Israel justifies as a crackdown on militant hideouts after recent attacks.
The destruction that happened in the camp is enormous. A whole machined army, dozens of bulldozers, entered the camp and destroyed the entire infrastructure. As you can see, the streets, the water lines, the sewage system, even the rainwater drainage system. The electrical lines were hit the first day. They targeted the generators and disconnected electricity. As for communication, the internet, phones and so on, this didn't exist in the first place.
The attack on the Jenin refugee camp in the northern West Bank was the largest in 2 decades. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, the Israeli army launched a large-scale aerial attack using unmanned missile-loaded planes to shell parts of the camp. They flattened the ground before the soldiers trooped in for a raid and remained there for approximately 48 hours. At least 1,000 soldiers and dozens of armored vehicles were involved in the assault. No less than 3,000 people were forced to flee their homes in Jenin for fear of being killed.
So it's a horrific situation. It's a barbaric situation by the Israeli occupying forces in which they used aircrafts, they used large number of forces and infantries and mechanized units to attack this small refugee camp.
Palestinian officials say 12 people were killed in the attacks, including 3 children, while at least 120 were injured. Israel says 11 of these casualties were militants, but innocent Palestinians mourning their loved ones have a different story to tell.
How can he be a terrorist? He's 19 years old and the ones younger than him are 16 and 15. You call them terrorists? And those who have bombs and planes are not terrorists? And those who fire missiles? What if there are women in the area? Kids? They don't know what they're hitting. They drop the missiles and they don't know who it hits. God is great. That's all. God is great.
Arab states soon huddled as Israel continued its attack on Jenin. The Arab League issued its statement, called the raid similar to war crimes. The military operation made things diplomatically awkward for the 4 Arab states that have signed peace pacts, known as the Abraham Accords, with Israel. Moreover, it made the already distant prospect of setting up ties with Saudi Arabia even more distant. While the leaders issued strong statements, people in West Asia took to the streets to raise their voices against Israeli occupation. From Lebanon to Jordan, Saudi to Kuwait, thousands marched in support of the Palestinian cause. After withdrawing its troops, the Israeli military said it has achieved its goals for now. They have wiped out a weapons depot and command center in Jenin. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the quote-unquote operation a success.
If Jenin goes back to terrorism, we'll go back to Jenin. And it will happen faster and stronger than anyone can imagine.
For years, Jenin has been a sore spot for Israel. It has not managed to crush the tides of resistance in one of the oldest refugee camps despite many efforts. It has not managed to crush the tides of resistance in one of the oldest refugee camps despite many efforts. In the last 1 year especially, Jenin and its nearby areas, including those falling in the Israeli-occupied northern West Bank, have seen routine raids. It only worsened after the far-right government took over last year. Many of the Palestinian groups and militant organizations have their centers in Jenin. It was the arena of some of the worst bloodshed during the Second Intifada, a hotbed of resistance that burns every time there is a new Israeli attack or strike. Has the Israeli military achieved a win? Or did they make a point by destroying all the infrastructure of the refugee camp? It will come to be known in time. But there is one thing for sure. Every attack deepens the source of the rising rage and motivates the resistance in a city known for always fighting back.